Our video today is how to spot a KT88 European type or the American version 6550 and how to select a new old stock tube versus a reproduction or a current production tube. The best and probably the hardest to find are those that were made by Genelex or the General Electric Corporation of England or of the United Kingdom. The G.E.C. tubes are usually characterized by a slightly flared Coke bottle shape. Typically we'll have a blue and gray label, often we'll say G.E.C. Or Genelex. They have aluminum collar around the base, a brown micanol base at the very bottom. The plates inside are black. There is almost always, on the newer versions, a couple of shiny getters on the sides and then a full shiny getter on the top and an extra or triple mica near the top. They used to make these tubes for other companies. I have one here that was made for Mullard. Frequently they will say KT88 and then IEC Mullard in a white label on the front. However, almost all of the Genelex, as you can see in this earlier version, had a square label on the back that said KT88 and then frequently contained a date and a factory production code. When they were made for other brands, they almost always, not always, but usually had the same type of square box on the glass. Sometimes with the other brand printed right over top of it. But as you can see, this is basically the same kind of a tube as the one we just looked at. Even rarer is the earlier version. These either came in two varieties, one saying Genelex in a square in the blue and gray or blue and white labeling, or they had the gold lion designation, which was a large gold lion that was printed all the way across the glass, and the gold lion was holding a small box that said KT88. The older versions generally were only top getter and had a large mica spacer just below the getter flashing. Sometimes Genelex made these for other brands that were sold in North America. This one having been made for Sylvania, and this one is one of the more unusual ones in that it is identical to the European versions, but it doesn't have the square white KT88 label on the glass. It merely has the Sylvania marking on the base. However, the box is labeled Made in England, and of course the production is identical to those made in England, and that is the clue that this is a Genelex product. American tubes that rivaled the Genelex in quality were the tongue saw. The tongue saw is a short Coke bottle shaped tube. Frequently has the words in white tongue saw around the base and then a date code. Sometimes the date codes were letters. The tongue saw, the older version, was the black plate. As you can see, the plates are black. There's an extra support rod, and the getter flashing was on the top only. This is the rarest type. They frequently said 6550 labeled on the top also. This was the rarest type and is the hardest to find and commands the highest price. These also had a brown micanol wafer base, similar to the European KT88. A slightly later version was the so-called gray plate with no holes. This is not a black plate, but it is a gray plate. This one having been made for General Electric, and it has the GE date code, this one being 1963, the 22nd week of 1963. However, it is a tongue saw tube, as evidenced by the short, squatty Coke bottle shape. The smooth, no-hole gray plates had two getters, one on each side, or I should say two side getters, and then one shiny getter flashing all the way across the top, and the 6550 identification at the very top. This is the smooth, no-hole gray plate, only made for a couple of years in the very early 1960s by tongue saw. Finally, the later tongue saw variety, and the ones that are most commonly found, are the so-called three-hole gray plates. As you can tell, they have the three holes in the gray plates. This one is made for Dyna Corporation. Again, the nickel collar around the base, the brown micanol wafer at the base, two very shiny getters on the side, and again a very shiny getter at the top. This one also has the Tungsol date code and factory code. The numbers that begin with 322 were always the Tungsol factory. And then in competition to Tungsol was General Electric. The General Electric tubes can almost always be spotted by their taller tubular shape, and they had two tilted getters at the very top with very shiny getter flashing extending somewhat down the sides of the top. They either had General Electric or another brand printed on the glass. They had an aluminum collar around the base. Sometimes in the older tube the General Electric was printed on the base. 3 holes in the gray plates inside, and a black Bakelite wafer at the very bottom. One tube to watch out for is this quite excellent reproduction of a Tungsol 3-hole gray plate. This one is created obviously not to deceive, because they actually wrote Tungsol made in Russia, and it has a 2005 date code on it. But as you can tell, the inside reproduction is excellent in its detail. There are the 2 shiny getters on the side, the shiny getter on the top, the stop sign logo with 6550 at the very top, the shiny nickel base, the brown Myconol wafer base. This tube could be easily used to fool someone into thinking that it was a genuine 3-hole Tungsol, which is worth probably 5 to 7 times as much as the Russian tube. The Russian tube even came in a Tungsol box that looked like the original. The problem with the reproduction box is, you can see it's shiny and glossy, as the original Tungsol boxes were dull cardboard, and by this time they have yellowed with age. So hopefully this video will help you spot one of those rare 6550 or KT88 tubes, and we'd like to help you pick one of these tubes for your own personal use. Give us a call at audiotubes.com, 847-496-4546. We'd love to help you. Thank you.